Hi guys, it's Tamara here from Create Your Future. I'm a coach here as well as a psychologist, so I can offer you two different points of view when it comes to creating the life that you want and experiencing the things that you want to experience. So I'm back, and today I'm here to share another wonderful story by one of my clients. And what's really interesting about this is it really happened so fast, right? Even though that we know everything is in the now moment. And when you claim something, you're claiming this now for yourself. You're choosing this now in this very moment. Like there is no past or future when it comes to your I am, to your awareness. We, on the other hand, as human beings, will live in the 3D world, and we are very well aware of the time and how relative time is. We live in time and space in a 3D world. Therefore, when I say things shifted very fast with this client, I also mean in the 3D world as well, not only within my client. So a little bit of the backstory. This was a totally new client of mine. I had never seen her before. She signed up for coaching because, as she told me, even though she was successfully manifesting for a couple of years, and she has done a lot of coaching in the past and seen a lot of success, there was something about her SP situation that, as she told me, she was not able to overcome, or she felt like she was putting all this work. She was affirming nonstop. She tried to script. She tried visualizations, anything under the sun. And as she said, nothing worked. Or she would see some changes here and there, but it was never really what she wanted to experience. So, as I always do, I always go within the story, and I always try to uncover what identity or identities my client is coming from. What are they choosing for themselves without even being aware of? So I was talking to her. We had a full 45-minute session. And during the session, I discovered that, okay, she was visualizing, she was scripting. All of that was stemming from the identity of a person who is in an unhappy relationship with somebody who does not prioritize my client, and she was feeling very frustrated. So guys, whatever approach you want to take, whether you are more logical, whether you're more of a spiritual person and you want to take this route, whatever approach you take, it all comes down to the same truth. You experience your 3D based off of the identity you choose. Which means everything stems from this state of being, state of mind, identity, character, whatever you want to call it. It's all the same thing. Everything stems from that point. Your thoughts, which become beliefs, your feelings, actions, habits, even desires, they all stem from your state of being, your identity. Which means if you see something and you don't like that, you want to change the experience, you have to shift into a different identity, different state of being. Whatever technique you use is not going to work if you're still being the same person at the end of the day. So all techniques work. They can all work if, only if, they truly help you, they truly shift you into the person who has their desire. You can do, as my client did, millions of affirmations. You can spend hours visualizing. If you're doing this out of anxiety, out of this fear that unless I do X, Y, and Z, things will never change, or, okay, I have to do this so I can have this out there later on. And this is the wrong approach, guys. And there is a very simple reason why. If we know, and we talked about this, we mention this all the time. If we know that everybody, and not just everyone, I want to add everything, is us pushed out. That means if you constantly look out there at the 3D and try to find some kind of validation, you're never going to be satisfied. Number one, you're never going to be satisfied. Why? Because you, as a human being, you're never in one state or in a perfect state 24/7. We shift all the time. We occupy many different states throughout the day, week, year, which means the 3D eventually reflects not just one state of being, one identity, but many of these identities we chose to occupy on purpose or by accident. Doesn't matter. Your 3D doesn't care. Your 3D always reflects the truth, which you accepted, willingly or not. So, while my client was doing all the work, all of her actions, all of her thoughts and feelings showed me, while we're talking, I asked her about her feelings, what was she saying to her friends, what was she thinking, how does she feel about manifesting her SP, and how does she feel about this relationship? Who is she in this relationship? And she revealed to me, she said, I'm never fully satisfied. I'm not prioritized. And what happened was, she was talking to her SP. They have been in a long distance relationship for a couple of years, and they were about to get married. They were talking about buying the engagement rings. My client was trying to help her SP get a job in her state. And then a couple of days ago, my client was talking to her SP, and they had a fight, and he told her, well, I cannot do this anymore. I cannot do this anymore. I have my family, and I think we should break up. Needless to say, my client was devastated, but above all, she was very frustrated. And that's exactly the identity she had been living from this entire time. So guys, if you live and you see the world in your relationship, in this case, your romantic relationship with your SP, from the perception of this identity who is frustrated, and then reason is she's not prioritized, she always has to do the work, she always has to help him reach out. But then you tell me that you are not living as this person because you have been affirming X, Y, and Z and visualizing 10 times a day. You know what I'm going to say, guys. I explained this in one of my earlier videos before. It doesn't matter. Unfortunately, this is not a numbers game. This is not a game where you do something perfectly well and then something out there, let's say your 3D world, appreciates that. So you're going to be rewarded because you visualized correctly or you affirmed enough. There is such a thing, guys, really. It all boils down to what are you aware of all the time. When you make a decision, I am in a loving relationship, let's say, that can be enough. But if you go 5 minutes later and you tell your friends, you know, my SP didn't call me yesterday. He didn't get me any Christmas gift. He never prioritizes me. We don't have a good communication. Who are you actually being? Who are you actually being? Are you being the person who has what they want and accepts, right? When we say accept that it's done, this is what we mean. You have to remind yourself, okay, I'm this person who is in a loving relationship. Why am I choosing this? Just let it go. And this is exactly what I explained to my client. I told her, unless you're willing to accept that you are now and you have been a person who is in a happy, stable relationship with her SP, who respects her and prioritizes her, and they're always on the same page. If you don't accept that now, it doesn't matter how many times you affirm or visualize. You're going to be stuck in this loop of very similar events. And she said, so what am I supposed to do? Is there like a new technique? Or I said, no, there is no technique. I asked her, do you feel more anxious? Do you feel tired, more frustrated after doing the work? And she said, yeah, that's exactly how I'm feeling. And I said, then let it go. Stop. Stop doing all of that. And she didn't understand. She was like, okay, if I stop, like, how can my reality change? I said, it's going to change because you're going to accept now that you are the person, you know, happy, stable, loving relationship, which means any problem out there is not going to be your problem to solve. And she was like, okay, I don't get that. So if my SP doesn't call me, or he calls me and he talks about his family, staying with his family, not coming to my state, not getting a new job here to move in with me, I was like, okay, let it be. You don't have to accept that. Meaning, you're not going to argue with the person and perceive this as a problem that you now have to solve. And then 5 minutes later, still think about that, trying to fix it, ruminate over this problem. And then 2 days later, call your mom, call your friend, and tell him, complain about everything about your SP. And again, complain about the problem that you're supposed to solve. Listen, guys, when you choose your identity, you accept it as your true state. by letting go of everything and anything that doesn't align with this. And I gave her a very simple, but I think effective analogy. Let's say you guys have a car. You drive, I'm going to say Toyota, okay? You drive Toyota, and this Toyota is old. It's not reliable. You have had tons of issues. Like you are constantly going, back and forth from mechanic to another mechanic and so forth. You're just not happy with the car. And then you realize, wait a second, I have a lot of money. I have this possibility to just buy a new car and drive it from now on whenever I want to. And then you decide, okay, I'm going to buy this new car, and you get a Honda. It's new, it's perfect, it's so comfortable, it's reliable, everything is working perfectly fine, and you're driving this, and you are enjoying it. And then, all of a sudden, maybe a friend of yours brings up your old car, or a problem with the clutch, let's say. Does it make sense for you to now get mad over that? And again, try to fix and become so consumed with this idea of you having a problem with your old car when you know that you have a new one that's available to you at any point in time. So instead of trying to solve an issue with your old car, just remember, I have the keys to my new car. I have a new car. That's not my problem anymore. So I don't have to solve anything. Because guys, even as a psychologist, I can guarantee you, when you are aware of issues, unfortunately, those issues are aware of you too. I hope this makes sense. If you're constantly living from this state of being of somebody who has issues with SP to solve, with money, with job, with coworkers, then guess what? Your 3D experience is going to be exactly that. More and more of similar issues for you to deal with. So as I told my client, listen, I heard everything you have to say, your whole story, and I get that. You put in a lot of this work, and even though it can work for people who are maybe more in that state of being most of the time, for people who get anxious when they affirm or visualize, or it feels too forced or too fake, it's not going to be helpful. It's going to be actually the opposite. So in her case, I told her, tell me who you want to be. Let's agree that this is you from now on. Accept this idea by not trying to do anything in the 3D world. And by that, I mean, do not try to convince your SP to do anything. Let go of this idea that you want to change him in the 3D. Because it's all about you. Unless you change your reality, and everyone in it, including your SP, are going to remain the same, basically. So let go of this idea, I'm going to change something or somebody out there first. Let go of the idea you have problems to solve. Let go of the idea that you have to do techniques or you're never going to have what you want. And let go of the idea that you have to be rewarded for the work you put in, because none of this is true. But what is true is who you want to be. I asked her, and she said, I want to be in a perfect, loving, stable relationship. And I said, okay, this is who you are from now on. Go and live your life knowing you are this person. If your SP calls you and he says something you don't like, don't try to forcefully change his mind. Do not affirm over the story you're hearing, over his words. Just simply realize, okay, this is happening only because I chose some other character identity in the past. And now my experiences reflect that state of being. But wait a minute, I know what I chose after that, and I know what I'm choosing now. I know that I am in a happy, stable relationship. So whatever this is none of my business. Not my problem to solve. So she did exactly that, guys. Apart from that, I asked her, what are you doing like throughout the day? She said, like, well, mainly I have been, trying to be busy or to go to the gym, but I can't because my mind gets consumed by thoughts of my SP. And I'm arguing my SP in my mind most of the time. And I said, okay, do you see how problematic this is? Do you see how that is actually a perfect reflection of the state of the being you're in? And she said, yes. But how can I change that? Again, you're not going to change anything by force. When those thoughts and those urges come up, take a deep breath, just take a second, and ask yourself, if I go down this path of arguing, ruminating over a fight with my SP, complaining about it in my mind, how will this be beneficial for me? It will not. Okay. Refocus. I told her, don't try to change a story if it feels fake and forced and unbelievable. Refocus. Do something you enjoy. Watch a movie. Listen to your favorite music. Talk to your friend, not about SP. I don't know, enjoy a hobby of yours. Take a shower. Do your work. Doesn't matter, guys. Refocus. She said, okay, I'm going to do that. 2 days later, she books another appointment. And I was like, here we go. I bet she has tons of questions because oftentimes this happens. I know how overwhelming this can be, especially if you are a beginner. She isn't, by the way. But truth to be honest, I thought she booked a session because she had a lot more questions about, this process and what she had to do and so on. But what actually happened was she came back to me and she was like, Tamara, I cannot believe how easy this was. And I said, okay, I was expecting some questions, but I guess you have success story to share. What happened? And she said, you were totally right. I didn't have to do anything except accept the idea that I am this person who is in a loving, stable relationship and stop solving and thinking about any problems out there. I went to the gym. I did my work. I talked to my girlfriends. Everything. I did not even think about my SP in a negative manner. And even if I did, I told myself it's an old identity. my old identity, doesn't know any better. So I'm so happy I don't have to do anything about this. I don't have any issues to solve with my old state of being or with my 3D. After 2 days, guys, her SP was bombarding her with messages and calls. She was busy, by the way. She was working. She was at work. She didn't see any of the messages. Her SP was crazy. She said, he texted her, are you seeing somebody else all of a sudden? Is that it? Is this why you're not texting me back? Why you haven't called me in 2 days? What's happening? Do you still want to get married? I'm looking for a job in my client's state. What happened with the job? Have you heard from a friend? Because my client's friend was willing to offer a job to my client's SP. So, needless to say, in less than 2 days, guys, her SP totally changed. But you know that he never really changed. What happened was she changed. She shifted. She accepted that there is no problem with her SP to solve. There's nothing wrong about the relationship she has with her person. And then 3D began to reflect that. And in her case, it happened extremely fast. It can happen in days, like her case, maybe hours in some other cases, maybe days, maybe weeks, maybe months. Doesn't matter, guys. What matters is you know who you are, you stick with your truth, with this decision, and you let go of any problems you don't have to solve, because you, as this new identity you are occupying, you're choosing to occupy, you have no issues to begin with. So, my message to you, the whole point of this video is to remind you guys, you have no problems to solve as this new identity who already has their desire. Okay? I hope this was very helpful and educational. I know it's maybe too long. By the way, if you need some help, I'm available for one-on-one coaching, and I'm still offering 20% off until the end of this month. So the link is down below, guys, and see you in the next video.